The next model that we'll be talking is return of income. So what do you think is return of income? A very basic question. So what is return of income? What is income tax return? Disclosing our income. Okay. So we disclose our income. What else we do? We claim deductions. Yeah. Sorry? How much tax? So we calculate the tax liability. We report the tax liability. Yeah. Anything else? One more thing is probably if there is any tax deduction, TDS credit. If there is any TDS credit, we do that and tell how much is refund or how much is additional payable. So the tax liability includes your advance tax, TDS credit and all those. So as we said, we report our income, we claim any deductions, that is your chapter 6A deductions. And then if we calculate the tax liability, on tax liability, if there is any tax deduction or TCS, TDS, advance tax, we adjust that and we report it to income. So it's a process. It's a process of reporting your income and tax to the income tax department. So it is a disclosure process. So when you say a disclosure process, the moment you have a word process, there must be some structure, which is some form, some deadline. All these should come into play, right? So this is what we are calling it as return of income. So this is discussed in section 139. So section 139 of Income Tax Act discusses about return of income. So when you say return of income, we were talking about a process, right? We were talking about a process. So when you say a process is typically, as we said, there must be a form, there must be a deadline, there must be a method. So all this has to fall in place. Now, this return of income, there are several types, rather than calling it types, several forms or several models that you can actually file a return of income. So basically, all these types of thing or varieties of income tax return that we are talking about is based on the deadline. So everything that is listed out here from 1 to 9, everything is based on deadlines. So based on the deadline, you call it as a different varieties. So basically, first and foremost, if someone is given an opportunity, regular or return file pannona, what will be your due date? So what will be the general due date a return has to be filed? This is discussed in 139.1. So this is called a regular return. So if you need to file a return as a default process, what is the timeline? So the timeline is discussed in 139.1. And next is 139.3. So basically, when you have losses, what are the heads of income typically? 5 heads of income: house property, salary, PGBP, capital gain, other sources. Under these sets of income, can losses be made in salary? No. Can losses be made in house property? Yes. PGBP, capital gain, income from other sources? No. Typically, income from other sources, there is only one place where you can make losses, that is horse race. Other than that, you cannot make losses. So there are rules about these losses. The provision is called what? Carry forward and set off losses. So when you say carry forward and set off losses, typically there is a procedure. What do you mean by the procedure? House property loss can be adjusted with against another house property income. One house property loss, one house property income. Can we adjust? Yes. One house prop netta we have house property loss. Can be adjusted with salary, PGBP. So basically, house property loss can be adjusted with all heads of income. There is no restriction. Let's come to PGBP. There are 3 types of PGBP. One is your regular business, one is your speculative, specified. These 3 things. So out of this, speculative and specified are unique. Speculative loss only with speculative profit. The specified loss only with specified. If it's a regular loss, it can be adjusted with all these business. Apart from business, it can be adjusted with other heads of income also, house property, your capital gain, everything. But it cannot be adjusted only with salary. Other than salary, it can be adjusted with everything else. Now, similarly, there are set of rules: long term, short term. Long term can be adjusted only with long term. Short term can be adjusted with both short term and long term. So all this can happen. So this is what we are calling it as carry forward and set off loss. Now, loss is something that gets adjusted with your profits, correct? It gets adjusted with your income. Now, if I tell you, you can adjust whenever you wanted to, I will take that luxury. But we are only talking about losses of that year being adjusted with loss of current year. Anything which is left over is carried forward, correct? So this is what we are talking about. Now, when you're talking about these loss returns, there are certain conditions attached to it. There are certain conditions. What are these conditions? So basically, a loss return means I have a business loss, I have a capital gain loss, or I have a house property loss. So which tells you that unless you file the return on time, where is the time specified? In 139(1). Unless you file the return of income within the due date specified under section 139, you cannot carry forward your losses. You cannot carry forward your losses. In the same year, you can adjust, but carrying it forward, no, you cannot. So it is not possible. So this carry forward losses is allowed only if you are filing it within the due date of income. This procedure is applicable to which income, which loss, it is not applicable to which loss. So this is what will be discussed in 139(3). So we know that there is something called loss return. So you need to file a return on time to claim the losses. Which losses can be claimed, cannot be claimed. If you are filing it within the due date, which losses can be claimed? If you are not filing it within the due date, what are the consequences? So this is discussed in 139(3), the next loss. So now we will understand the chronological order. First, I am filing my return of income. I need to file my return of income. That's your regular due date. That's the first thing. Now, I don't have income. I have losses. Or I also have income. I also have losses. So that is discussed in 3. Next step. Third step. Now, I have already filed my return under section 139(1) or 3. So this, I have already filed my return. Or I have missed to file my return. I should have filed my return under section 139(1). But now I have missed. I have missed my return. Now, once I have missed my return, I am still allowed to file my return. I have missed my return. There is a due date. I have not filed my return. Can I still file my return? Yes or no? Yes. But there will be deadlines, right? Updated deadlines. Okay, you have missed the regular deadline. I'll give you another deadline. I'll give you a chance. I'll give you a chance to rectify your lapse. So that is called 139(4). So 139(4) is basically what? When you miss your deadline, you can file belated return. So imagine the chronological order. First, I'm supposed to file my return within a specific due date. When I say income, when I say return, it is not only my income, it is also losses. So that's another category. 3 is losses. Now I'm talking about a situation where I have missed my return. I have not followed the timeline specified under section 139. What do? I can file belated return. Okay, so that is called 139(4). Now moving on, I have due date under section 139, regular due date, belated due date under section 139(4). Now, in both these 139(1) or 4, I have filed my return. So I've either followed 139(1) or 139(4). I have filed my return. But after filing my return, I understand that I've missed out something. I have not followed something. That is, there is a gap. Something which should have been done is not done. Something which should have been reported is not reported. Something which is reported is not correct. So not reported correctly. So one of this I understand. So I understand something is not okay in my return. What do you think should happen? What do you think? I should revise my return. So that's the next step. So if you see, you need not remember anything. It's a process. It's an automatic process. So you need not actually remember anything. So once I know that I have filed my return, I have found out there is some mistake. Now I have given an option on revising. So this should also have a deadline, not a deadline. It should have a deadline, correct? So this also should have a deadline. So that is discussed in 139(5). That is your revised return. So where you have already filed a return under section 139(1) or 4, where you are going to revise your return. So this is given in 5. Now, before going on to 8A, we'll come to 9 and then understand 8A. 9 talks about defective return. What is this defective return? I have filed my return under section 1, 4, or 5. I have filed under this or this or this. So I have filed my return, or it could be a filed return, revised return. So it could be a return filed, or it could be a return revised. Some form of return has already been done by me. Original return, and I've subsequently revised, or only the original return. So finally, I have a return. I have a return, either original or revised. It is there in the income tax portal. Now, what happens after I file my return? What happens after file my return? After I file my return, I have represented, I have disclosed something. Let's say I've disclosed my income as 7 lakhs. My deduction, chapter 6A deductions of ATC, ATD as 2 lakhs. So I am reporting my net income of 5 lakhs. I am saying that there is a rebate, there is no tax payable by me. So this is what I'm disclosing. Now, what should income tax do? I have reported something. What should income tax do? They'll scrutinize. So basically, they have to understand, they have to process my return, whether what I have filed is correct as per the law or not. Now, in this scenario, there are two types. One is straight away, blatantly, there is a mistake in what you have filed. What is such mistakes? Let's say ATC. ATC. How much is maximum ATC eligible? 1,50,000, including the national pension scheme, 2 lakhs. I can claim up to 2 lakhs. Now, in this particular aspect, up to now, I can claim up to 2 lakhs. Now, let's say I've claimed 2.5 lakhs, and the software has not stopped me. It has allowed me to claim 2.5 lakhs. So, what should income tax do? Income tax should tell you are not allowed for 2.5 lakhs and all. Looks like there is a mistake. So, it's a defect. It's a mistake. It's a defect. So this has to be intimated to me. So this is one concept. Another concept, as you were saying, ITR form. As a basic individual, let's say my income is less than 50 lakhs, I should use ITR 1. So now, if it's my income is more than 50 lakhs as a resident, I should use ITR 2. Now, for instead of using ITR 2, if I've used ITR 1 and I've filed, system is allowed, income tax is allowed. This is also a defect because my form is supposed to be ITR2, not ITR1. These are all straight. I did not understand the provision. I need not go into the act, understand the nitty-gritties, understand the minute details of my act. Straight up, it is wrong. So this is what you are calling it as defect. So there is straight defect. இதே மாதிரி வேற defect அப்படின்னா, for example, let's take form 3CD, that is your tax audit report. Tax audit report is reported through form 3CD. In form 3CD, you say there is a personal expense. You say there is a personal expense involved. Director has spent a personal expenditure of 2 lakhs. I report this in my 3CD. As an auditor, I report this in 3CD. As an assessee, while filing his return of income, what should he do? He should disallow this 2 lakhs. He should offer that to tax, this 2 lakhs. But he has not done that. This is also straight. Why? Because 3CD says there is some disallowance, but income tax return does not provide the disallowance. So there is a discrepancy between two forms filed on behalf of you. One is your IT return, another is your 3CD. Both are not in sync. There is a difference between these two. This is also a defect. So these are what you call it as defective return. So you will understand what happens with the defective return. What is the timeline? How is it represented? All that we'll understand. Now, apart from this, I said there is one more return that we'll discuss after all this. That is called updated return. Updated return is, I have already given you a chance. I've already given you a chance to file your return under section 1, regular deadline. Then I gave you another chance to file a belated return, extended return, that is 139(4). Even then, you have not filed your return. Even then, you have not filed your return. Now, I am not okay. But let's assume that assessee has understood the consequence. He has understood, I have earned so much of money. I have missed out the deadline under section 1. I have also missed out the deadline under section 4. Now, what will I do? I will be treated as a person who has not filed my return. I was worried if I report this income, something could happen. They'll send a notice, all this. I had a fear. So out of fear, I did not disclose this income because I feel that this income is not correct or it's illegal. Some reason I think if it disclosed, I will end up in trouble. So I try to safeguard myself by not filing the return. 1 and 4. Suddenly, after all these deadlines, I realize, ayyo matigita. What happens now? So this concept, this situation, now I have passed my deadline under section 1. I have passed my deadline under section 4. Now, do I still have an option to file my return of income? So that option, one last opportunity to report all your income is given in this 8A. So 8A is one last opportunity to file your return of income. It is called as updated return. So in this return, there are certain conditions. Who can do this return? So who can do this return? What happens in this scenario? So this timeline and condition is discussed in 139.8A. So that is your updated return. So these are all the types of return. So the chronological order, what did we say? First, I am regular filing return of income, that is 139.1. Income, it also includes losses. So if you have losses, it is covered under 139.3. And if in case if you have missed filing your return under section 139.1, you are given an opportunity to file a belated return under section 139.4. In case if you have already filed your return, something needs to be revised, something needs to be changed, you are given an option to revise your return, that is 139.5. Then out of these returns, if there is some mistake or something defect identified, you are given an opportunity to rectify your defect. So that is 139.9. Now, these are all regular process. Now, there is something more. What is that something more? Okay, I have missed every deadline. I have missed all the deadlines. Now, I am given one last opportunity to file a return even after all these deadlines. That is called 139.8A. That is called updated return. So, these are the things that we are going to understand in this chapter called return